I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Oops the Podcast. Giulio Gallerati, joined by young Ryan Lynch. Mr. Lynch, how you doing?
Doing all right. How are you doing?
Doing good, dude. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Do you know what we should bring to this episode?
What?
We should bring a boom.
The Rizzler. I love seeing his bike tricks, dude.
Those are sick tricks. I saw the floating one.
Yeah, the floating one. I forget what it's called, but it's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
With the no hands, where there's never actually no hands. There's always a hand.
Yeah. You know he's not part of the family?
Really?
Yeah, he's a free agent.
He's just like the Steve-O.
He signed with them, yeah.
Hilarious, dude.
I've been booming around Giulio's apartment since we got here. Wholesome, family-friendly brain rot.
I love it.
On your FYP.
I love it, dude.
Yeah. How are you doing? You were at a wedding?
Yeah, I was, dude. Good. I have a question, though. The question we're all wondering, when is Lynch going to RSVP to my wedding, dude?
I will. I saw when I got home yesterday, I went up on top of our fridge and I grabbed the card and I have the password and everything. I'm going to RSVP today.
Okay,
yes.
Sick. It's funny because yesterday Hillary sent me the list of the people who have not yet RSVP'd.
Is it a big
Lynch
list?
was among them. No, there's only a few.
Oh, damn.
And half of them are people who didn't realize that them doing the save the date wasn't them RSVPing, which, by the way, completely understandable mistake. Like, I have never had any idea how to do any of this, so I'm not holding it against anybody. But I got accused of being a groomzilla a couple times when I texted people because they're like, I still have a week to do it. I'm like, all right, were you going to remember? Like, the idea that people would, I guess it's possible. They were probably just making excuses. But my one friend, Bobby, he was just busting my balls. But he's like, dude, I had a whole week to do it. You out me in the group chat.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'll be honest. Yeah, I saw it and I said it. I read it was the 15th. So I feel like, I don't know. I saw it and I was like, I'm going to do this.
You're good. You're good. You're good for sure.
Is there like some redeeming quality in knowing that I know the date in which it's due? October 15th?
There's no doubt in my mind that you were going to RSVP and I wouldn't have had to say shit. I was at a great wedding this weekend, which, by the way, it was in Nashville. I actually went to the Vanderbilt tailgating, and this was the day where they beat Alabama. The first time in the history of the Vanderbilt program that they've beaten a number one. It was a massive upset. They were 22.5-point underdogs. I actually bet on Alabama to cover 22.5, and Vanderbilt ends up winning. And it was great because, first of all, both the bride and the groom went to Vanderbilt. I don't think they met there, but they met in Nashville. The bride's father, who's like a big, powerful, successful guy, went to Vanderbilt. I learned this. This is apparently the VU symbol. I don't know if I have to do it this way or that way or whatever. But anyway, it's a V. It's the middle finger, pointer finger, thumb, basically just up. In case you guys feel like doing it at home.
Nice.
But that felt special. That felt like a special thing to have happen on your literal wedding day. It wasn't like some point in the weekend, like the literal wedding day itself, that happened. So I thought that was pretty special.
Down south, that's like serious business.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
That is cool.
A couple fun things happened. I know a lot of people at this wedding. I don't know everybody. This one dude came up to me and he was like, oh, hey, dude. And he came at me with that energy of like, I was at your show or I listened to your shit or like whatever. So I kind of preemptively snap into, okay, I need to pretend I recognize this guy. Not to say that that's something that I'm doing regularly, but I just want there to be warmth there in case we haven't met, but he's familiar with me. And I want to make sure that he feels welcomed into this conversation. Right. Mm-hmm. And maybe we did meet. So I'm willing to like, even because he's at the wedding. So maybe we're mutual friends. So I'm like, I've probably met this guy before. So I need to pretend like I know him. So I'm like, hey dude, what's up? Good to see you. And then he says some shit that makes no sense. He's like, remember when we were at the it was like he was sleepwalking. The shit made no sense. And then I realized this is his fun little party trick to pretend that he knows people from somewhere. And now I just look stupid.
Well, what did he ask you if you remember him from?
Dude, he literally might have been like, remember from the river when we like rode in the canoe and then we caught the bear? Oh, that was crazy, man, when we did that. And then we fished And then we went home and then we slept in the same bed. That was kind of weird, but it was like, he didn't literally say that, but like it was something along those lines.
How long did you take the bait? How long were you going,
Dude, we did like a friendly dap. I never let it go. I like that, Lynch. I like that.
Friendly dap.
Wait a minute.
I don't know you.
I don't know. So anyway, we like do a warm dap and like I never let it go. And then as the night's ending, I'm walking back into the hotel and he's walking in next to us and I'm really worried that he's going to continue the joke. And I'm going to continue not knowing what's going on. If you're going to play jokes on people, guys, make sure they're jokes that are not just for you. Everyone should have fun in these jokes. If they're going to be a proper prank, the prank should have some sort of payoff. You also shouldn't be pranking people you don't know unless it's part of a TV show or something. So anyway, then we kind of just small talked and I got out of it, but it was really uncomfortable, Lynch.
That sucks.
It was really uncomfortable.
That's beat.
Yeah, man. So that was tough.
How many people were at the wedding?
Probably around a couple hundred, probably between 150, 200. I actually got to finally meet for the first time. I don't know if you remember this story. This is sort of an old oob story, but one time I slept at this girl's house, which is on 30A in Florida, which is kind of like on the panhandle, but it's sort of like a fancy part of Florida where there's really nice houses. It's kind of southern architecture. The beaches are pristine. It's super unique. I wasn't on my radar at all until I happened to be in Panama City for my gig and then drove to her house, which is, 40 minutes away, and stayed at her sick house, which is in this little beach community, 40A, like I said. But when we ended up sleeping over their house and she's like, all right, yeah, just go pick any guest room upstairs. I'm like, all right. So I pop into this one guest room and I'm like, oh, this is sick. I get in, I'm in the bathroom in the morning using all the products. I'm like, well, these are sick products for the guest room. I get a text from her later in the day because Zach, my manager, ended up staying over there too. And she's like, did one of you guys stay in the master bedroom by any chance?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. I just start like freaking out. She's like, no, I like don't care. I just need to know so that the cleaning lady, like whatever. I'm like, I swear I like made the bed. I like tidied it up. Anyway, I felt so embarrassed. We did a whole pod episode about this. This is probably, I want to say February or March 2022 is what I would guess. If you guys are looking for the episode, we'll try to find it in the meantime. But the parents thought that this was like the funniest thing ever. They listened to the pod. They sent it to a bunch of their friends. So it was fun to get to meet them in person for the first time. And we joked around about it, which was cool.
That's fun, full circle.
Always fun. It was a very southern wedding, which was cool. Like, whatever that means. I mean, it wasn't, actually, no. There was nothing about it that was particularly southern. It was just like fancy, cool people from all over different parts of the world, but like, a bunch of people who are from the South. And it was cool, cool cuisine. They definitely paid a good homage to the area and the hors d'oeuvres and the food and like had some fun stuff in there, like hot chickens, like a famous thing in Nashville, all this stuff. So definitely was really, really fun. And this was fun, dude. Okay, a couple things. So have you ever been to Broadway in Nashville?
No.
Okay, so this is like the party area. A lot of places have kind of tried to replicate it. Bourbon Street has a similar vibe, but Bourbon Street's much more narrow, so you can't get this same mass scale as you can get on Broadway in Nashville. And on any given day on Broadway in Nashville, it will be the biggest gathering of people you've ever seen for a non-occasion. No one won, no one's playing, and yet there are so many people in this area. I know that Austin 6th Street is a good comparison, but not as impressive as Broadway in Nashville. Broadway in Nashville sort of was like famous for all the live music. All the live bands are incredible. Like people who are going to probably get record deals someday. And if not, apparently they make a ton of money doing these gigs and they deserve it because they're amazing. So that was super cool. We didn't go on the day where Vanderbilt won, but you can imagine how crazy it was when Vanderbilt won. Apparently they took the goalpost with them to Broadway.
I saw that clip, yeah.
Which is sick. So that was cool. But dude, at one point, the dude on the stage, one of the singers, he held up his like Lucy can. Mm-hmm. And I had one too in my back pocket and I held it up and he laughed and thought that was hilarious. This like call to all people with a tin in their back pocket. That was a pretty hilarious moment.
That's cute.
Rallying the troops for the Zins.
It's so much fun on a wedding that you can just become best friends with random people, even just for a moment.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Totally.
Everyone's just good vibes and everyone's open to playing around with each other.
100%.
That's great.
This guy was the guy performing though, like at Nashville, but agreed.
Still, just
in general, very true.
Yeah.
Unless it's a guy fucking with you.
Yeah, unless he's messing with you. I do feel like guys have an easier time schmucking it up with each other
Yeah.
than girls at these types of events.
Interesting. Yeah.
There's a little more judgment.
It's easier to just kind of like go right into it.
Yeah. Without getting into specifics, I remember like a lot of the guys that I met this past weekend at the wedding that I was at, and everyone was getting along real great. And I heard feedback about comments exchanged amongst the girls that didn't know each other that were much more negative, without getting into details. But guys are being guys.
And were they talking about the demeanor of the other girls or their outfits, all of the above?
All the above.
Yeah.
Mean shit.
What is she wearing?
Mean shit. Wow.
You hate to see it, dude.
That's revealing.
Bros. But you're right, though. It's interesting. Weddings, like, here you are in this, 3-day, 2-day, whatever vacuum, and you're hanging out with all these people, and, you make friends. And it's interesting, too, because you, like, follow each other, and then you kind of, like, keep up with these people, and you may never even see them again. You sort of feel like you're friends, which is fun. Mm-hmm. And also, like, even just the wedding day itself, say that the wedding is at 4 and then there's the reception, everything goes to like 11 o'clock. You're just getting hammered with all these people you don't know. So naturally, like, unique things unfold. Yeah. And that's why it's such a great setting for like any TV show, like final episode, like a big event. It'll be like a retreat or a wedding or a birthday party where all the characters are in the same place. Who knows what's going to go down, Lynch?
Anything. Big hoorah.
And I knew like a good handful of people at this wedding, which always makes it more fun. But even when you don't know people, it can typically be a good time if you just let yourself get into the mix.
Yeah.
Which is always cool.
Can you tell me in a little more detail the hors d'oeuvre situation for this wedding?
So first of all,
what stuck out?
So Thursday night was rehearsal dinner. So it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thursday night rehearsal dinner, which was at a Jean-Georges restaurant. Like, who's one of the top chefs for, I'm not like a big foodie necessarily, but I think that this guy's like the chef of Le Bernardin or something. I might be making that up. That might be a different guy, but it's something like that. This guy presides over the menus of some of the top restaurants on the planet. He has a restaurant in Nashville. The rehearsal dinner happened there. The food was incredible. He apparently invented the molten chocolate cake.
The molten?
Which has become a very pervasive menu item. So they served the original. I had a crazy steak that was amazing. And the regular bar was open, meaning you could go order your favorite drink and you'd get it on a big ice cube. Like, they could make any. So I had like killer mezcal Negronis. Awesome. So that was sick. Then Friday, welcome drinks. These first 2 nights were both in the hotel too, which was really nice, convenient, really nice hotel. It was in the Hermitage in Nashville, which is like, I guess, the oldest 5-star hotel in Nashville. A little fun there.
Wow.
But yeah, so then there's like a bunch of hors d'oeuvres, a bunch of good stuff. And that was the night we went to Broadway. So it was kind of like spaced out perfectly. Then Saturday, the wedding, which was at this mansion in Belmead, I think, outside of Nashville. That I think it was built by the Maxwell House founder, the coffee brand, sometime around the 20s or 30s. Someone was giving me the scoop. And just this beautiful palatial mansion with all sorts of like European architecture that you would have seen at some sort of palace or Versailles or whatever, fountains. And in the actual tent itself, there was a fountain. It was sick.
That was huge.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was
right?
a huge tent.
Really nice touch. Also, Southern weddings, they're really good at making the ceremony happen in a place that isn't going to be hot, even when it's outside. So the sun sets and is setting and it's behind the trees. So you have proper shade so you're not uncomfortable. They kind of thought of everything. The bearing the bottle of bourbon thing worked. The wedding was perfect the entire weekend. On the day where actually the RSVPs are due, Hill Dog and I are going to need to bury that bottle of bourbon from Mother Nature to ensure that we have good weather.
Can you remind everyone? I think you said that off camera last week.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think if I didn't say this on a previous episode.
Just to be safe.
Apparently what you're supposed to do is bury a bottle of bourbon open and upside down into the ground a month before the wedding to offer Mother Earth an offering to ensure that she will give you nice weather. So you feed her the best and she will give you the best in return. I don't know specifically where this stems from. I've asked different Southerners about it. They have no idea what I'm talking about. So maybe it's an Oklahoma thing. That's where the bride is from. I have no idea, but it worked for them. We're going to give it a shot too. That'll be cool. One thing that happened, Lynch, we had a 6 a.m. flight back on Sunday. I don't know why, and maybe we just waited too long, but this particular weekend, flights to Nashville were insanely expensive. Now, I know that Nashville is one of those, they're expanding the airport because it's an exploding city. It's becoming so popular, and maybe that's why, or maybe it's because of the Alabama game, all these people flying in. Although Alabama is not that far, but I get that sort of Alabama diaspora is sort of spread all over the place. So maybe people were flying in for the big game. Who the fuck knows? But flights were insanely expensive. So the only affordable flight that we could get was a JetBlue flight, 6 a.m. out of Nashville, flying into JFK. Not ideal in any scenario. If you're in New York, you know you want to find a LaGuardia when that's offered. And Nashville flight's certainly going to LaGuardia. So anyway, here we are taking the 6 a.m. flight. We actually called it a little earlier on the wedding night. I didn't even drink that much. Now, granted, I ate too much shit food. Shit food meaning like the after the late night bites, you know, like the sliders, the grilled cheeses. It was delicious, but like stuff that makes your stomach, if you go ham on it, your stomach's not going to feel good. So my stomach is full of all this food. I obviously sleep weird. I only sleep a few hours. I'm not hungover, but there's no way to recover from that 6 a.m. flight unless you're like used to that. Because dude, we got back, we took a couple naps, went to bed at like 8 o'clock, and still Monday I was like, I hate myself. Like, oh, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like when you're all tired, when you need to get shit done, just an absolutely terrible feeling, but it was obviously worth it. But something to be said about that 6 a.m. flight and how tough that it can be.
So what time did you have to wake up for that flight?
So the airport, fortunately, is only like 15, 20 minutes away. So that was nice. But I think we woke up at like 4:30. I was checking a bag because, dude, back to back nights of wedding stuff. I need 2 suits and a tuxedo, a bunch of shoes. Like it's a rare scenario where a guy needs to pack more than a woman. You know what I mean? So I had to check a bag, which means I have to get there a little earlier. Usually they're flexible with it, but sometimes if you get there 45 minutes before it takes off, they give you shit and they don't let you check your bag. So I wanted to make sure I got there exactly an hour before departure, which ended up working out. We walked in at like 5:04 and the flight was taking off at 6:05 or something. So that worked out. But yeah, so we're in the car earlier even than we would have normally had to be if we didn't check. So we're in the car by like 4:45 to make it to this 5:50. Naturally, everybody down there fucking talks to you in the Ubers. It's brutal. Dude's making chit chat with us the entire ride at 4:45. I'm like, dude, Terry, you're a good dude, but nobody wants to talk right now, man.
It's pitch dark outside. Wait, what happens if they say, no, you can't check your bag?
I think they put your bag on a different flight, on the next flight out, and then they have to like ship it to you or something.
You have to pay for that, I bet.
I don't think so, but I think you just get it the next day or something. Yeah, we were flying on all airlines where we don't have perks either, so I ended up spending an extra $75 checking bags and shit. I could have just risked it and gate checked everything, which would have worked out, but it's not worth it to try to pull a fast one.
Yeah.
You never know. Especially on the way there. And I had a connection on the way down too. On a very standard direct flight, but same thing. It was just too expensive. I had a layover in Raleigh, whatever. But dude, James K. Polk was buried right next to the hotel. Now, I don't know. I would say that you are not in the minority if you do not know who this is. So I'll ask you first and foremost if you can guess who that is. And, you know, I don't expect you to know this, and I don't think most listeners would know. James K. Polk.
Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, Adams, Jackson, Van Buren, Harrison, Tyler, Polk.
There you go.
Is that 11? 21? Wait, 16?
No, I think you're right.
Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, Adams, Jackson, Van Buren, Harrison, Tyler, Polk.
11.
11.
I think that's right.
Fillmore, Pierce, Buchanan.
Boom! I need to learn this song, dude. For me, okay, I think I can do the first 10. Then I can't do it. I don't think I can do it in order from there to 16 where I know Lincoln is. Then it's like Lincoln, Johnson, Grant. Then I don't know again until William McKinley. And from there, I know the rest of them. But like, I feel like those chunks kind of are the toughest. And I might be in a minority there, but I think I might not be.
No, they are. I don't know the Lincoln part.
Yeah.
I always get lost and I skip past Lincoln and I'm like, he should be in there.
Yeah, it's like in no specific order. Chester Arthur, who was president twice, Grover Cleveland. But Chester Arthur
I don't know Cleveland. I don't know where Cleveland is in the song.
In two different parts. James Buchanan.
Fillmore, Pierce, Buchanan.
Benjamin Harrison. What? So yeah, I can't place those guys specifically. But yeah, Polk was buried right there. So that was cool. Also, one of the, I always pull up Atlas Obscura, the app when I'm in a different city to see if there's any like cool random shit near me. And the bathroom in the Hermitage is one of the sickest things ever and was on the Atlas Obscura list. And it was super sick. It's like all these crazy colors and there's like a shoe shining station and like it was this big, sick, cool bathroom. So that was really cool. I've been to Nashville a few times, but I always feel that there's stuff that you don't know about in places when you're visiting and it's worth it to try to like nose them out. And I still even try to do it here in New York.
Mm-hmm. You filmed the bathing, right?
I did. I think I put it on my TikTok.
Yeah. That's cool.
Pretty cool. If you want to go see that, run over to the old TikTok at @JULIO. And yeah, dude, in the bathroom, in the hotel room, 2 sinks, which means you're supposed to each get your own sink. And, you know, that the DMZ there is somewhere in the middle. Maybe there's a little bit of gray area on either side of it, as all DMZs have. But my left side is my autonomous area that I preside over. She has no right to any of it, and hers is hers. And somehow she ends up with the entire counter, all 3 sections. And I'm like, are you serious? And then she gets mad at me when I get mad, and then later realizes I'm right. And she has this very clever thing that she does when I'm mad at her. The second we meet up with other people, she says, Giulio's mad at me. And they go, ooh, and then they look at me and see if I'm mad, and I try to shake off the madness, which I can't do.
Yeah.
And then she explains why, we all laugh, and then it's over.
I get that. She really puts you in a box there.
It's really annoying. She does it to her family too, but I actually am grateful for the outcome, because usually whatever the fight is, it's not worth carrying on.
Yeah.
It's a very clever tactic.
That nips it in the bud right away.
Yeah.
It's the bud.
You got to nip
right?
it in the bud.
The bud.
That makes sense to me.
Nice.
Because
Yeah.
the bud will then blossom into an annoying weed.
Yeah.
So I believe that's all I got, Lynch, for wedding stuff. You've been hitting a lot of weddings.
Yeah, I did 3 weddings in a row.
Gee, how many have you had this year?
4. And we did the last 3 weekends. Lenox, Massachusetts, just outside of Philadelphia, Cape Cod this past weekend.
Nice that they're all drivable, even though you don't have a car anymore.
Yeah, well, we have a car to borrow, but it's a bitch to get to. I take the train into New Jersey, take the car, drive it to XYZ, then drive it back. Then I take another train back to the city from New Jersey, and then the subway home.
It's
With
probably
all
like
of the
5
luggage.
hours,
It's a lot. Yesterday's ride back was about 6 hours.
including the dropping off the car and taking the train.
I did not do that yet. We have off this weekend. Not really. We have 2 engagement parties. One on Saturday, one in Connecticut, and then one back for our neighbors here.
Well, dude, thank God at least most of your travel has been regional, because that is saving you thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Although I guess you still have to pay for hotels and stuff when you're going to these places. But the flight, I mean, dude, like saving on all those flights is definitely huge.
Yeah. Well, then, so we have off this weekend, and then we're going to North Carolina for another wedding
Have
next
off
weekend.
this weekend.
So
Awesome.
it's just a lot. I'm feeling how you felt yesterday. Just like
Rocked.
I'm dead, dude.
Yeah.
So we were at this lovely wedding in Cape Cod. Our friends Naomi and Christian.
Great time
it was
of
a
year.
beautiful wedding, Sunday wedding, perfect day. I knew so many people there, friends and family. Victoria was in the wedding and had a great time. The food was fantastic. I had probably 30 oysters. So many oysters.
You better get shucking if Lynch is at the party.
a
He's
video-
going to start slurping.
I have a video to show you. So here's a time-lapse video. And the guy kept bringing more.
You got to post that, bro.
Yeah, and so this was when I hit like 20. I'm having a
Hilarious.
spicy margarita. And
How many do you eat in that actual video?
in this video, I think I had 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, that is a beautiful wedding, man.
It was awesome.
So sick.
But it caught up to me. There was yesterday was a bad day.
The oysters?
No, just like the drinking.
Yeah.
I mean, I was dancing around with like 32 boogers in my stomach.
You drove back hungover?
I drove back. Yesterday was really, really bad. I woke up and we went to the brunch at the family's cottage that they rented. And when we were walking in, dude, Victoria looked at me and like could just see how disheveled I was.
You
And
needed an ice pack.
I was this close to breaking down crying. I was this close to crying and just saying I need to sit in the car.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lynchy.
It's like a solid, like just like 2 hours of just the worst feeling in the world. And I really I felt like if I cried, I'd feel better, but
It's
I couldn't
such a
do that.
grind.
I couldn't do that. So I didn't. And then I got past it and then I drove
couldn't do
home
that, so
with
I
the
didn't.
hazards on because it was pouring out in the Cape.
Fuck.
And the car that we had doesn't have an aux cord. So I'm listening to my baseball stuff through my iPhone speaker and the rain bouncing and punching against the window
And the Yankees lost.
was way louder than the decibel levels that my phone at 30% could produce.
Oof.
It
So no
was just like-
charger?
There's a charger, but it's like a 2008 car. So like those those outlets, what do you call those?
Is
What's
it the
cigarette-
lighter outlet?
The lighter
Yeah, yeah.
outlets, those only maintain or ever so slowly drain your battery.
Interesting.
It was bad. It was a
tough.
bad car, but Vic took a nap, so that like was good for me.
Do you drive the whole way So,
My ego kicked in.
bro, that
I
is some
couldn't-
like low key man shit. You
Yeah.
should be driving, guys.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago when we drove up after I did a spot and we didn't get until 3 a.m, I like almost threw up because it was just such a stressful day. And I was like, I need to close my eyes for 5 minutes. Vic drove the whole way.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Sometimes you know.
Sometimes
Even to step in.
Sometimes the alpha thing to do is to let them drive.
Potentially, that's gonna be a tough sell for me. But sometimes you run, sometimes you cry.
Lean on Hill Dog.
Yes, yeah, I don't trust her.
They're there to help.
No, she's an okay driver. It just takes her a couple of days to warm up, which I'm not willing to tolerate.
Yeah. So it was good. We had a great time. I saw a lot of people I haven't seen in a while. There was somebody that was I don't know very well, and she just made unsettling comments to kind of like everybody. And I'm just curious if like she knows how to talk to people. I'll give you an example. Like she went up to one of my friends, a guy, and she's like, you're a lot smaller than I thought you would be.
Oh my God.
And then he just
Is he short?
He is short. And he's just like, what do you say to that? So he was just like, I don't know. Yeah. And then she doubles down. And she's like, no, like you're really small.
Oh my God. Was she hammered?
No. She
Jesus.
eye contact,
Asperger's.
asking, looking you in the eyes, maybe some Asperger's going on. But
because you can only say that the other way around. Like people say that to me, they're like, you're taller than I thought. But like, as long as the end result is not insulting.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I've been told that. The people like are surprised by how tall I am.
Yeah.
I'm not that tall, but like people are surprised still, whatever. But like, if you're like, damn, you're short.
Yeah.
No, you're like fucking tiny, dude. Like I could step on you. I'm glad that like you're wearing bright colors.
So me, I'll punch you in the throat.
Yeah.
You say something like that. So she made a few comments to the girls. I'm not getting to some girls that are just like, you don't say that.
Dude,
and then
don't
she
say
said to me, the night before the wedding, it was, I was filling up my water bottle and I don't know, I was getting ready for bed. And she comes up to me and she's like, hey, like, why are you so serious? She's like, you're like, I like thought you were like a funny, like,
Oh God.
silly guy. Like, and you just like are so tense. Like, are you okay? And I think in that moment I was tense because a ton of people came to our Airbnb and it was getting loud. And like,
You're getting PTSD from college.
I just was like, I was like, I need to go to bed. And like, I also, I'm getting a little stressed out. Vic's in the wedding. Somebody drove a car and blocked my car and the other bridesmaid's car and just dealing with that. And so she's like, I'm like, nah, I'm like, I don't know. I'm
chilling.
But I didn't like her enough or cared enough about what she thought about me to be like, no, I swear I'm silly.
Respect.
I swear.
No, I'm having a good time.
I'm so silly. Like, I was just like, okay. And then she doubled down and she's like, yeah, like, you're like very serious. I just, and then walked out. I was like, okay.
Dude, Jesus. Brutal.
These people.
Well, dude, it sounds like they buried the bottle of bourbon because it's nice you had the good weather. Love that, even though it didn't extend to Monday. But that hungover travel day is a slog no matter how you cut it. Because the flying hungover sucks. Like, it's hard to be patient and comfortable on the flight no matter what your situation is. If you're flying first class, I guess the best scenario is flying first class. Or because even like if you were to have a driver, which, God bless anybody who does, that still feels long. Driving hungover is brutal. Being in the car hungover is brutal. Flying is brutal. But flying first class, I guess, is comfortable.
Yeah.
But like, you'd be lucky. I mean, I did not have first class either way to mine. So
I think a window seat's ideal
window seat solid
on a hungover travel day.
Oh, dude, this was huge. Okay, so I booked the worst fucking ticket you could possibly book on JetBlue, where you don't pick your seat because I didn't want to pay extra for it because I'd already been crushed by how expensive these flights were, and So sometimes when Hillary and I just do this, we were like, all right, I guess we're not sitting together, whatever. So I look at my seat assignment. I'm in the last row in the middle.
Ew.
And I'm like, what the fuck? So I quickly look to see if there's any other seats open. There's one middle seat open on the entire flight, and it happens to be next to Hillary. And I pick it.
Wow.
And I was like, guess what? And I showed her, and she was like, oh my God, this is
like,
huge. Because then she wants to sit in the middle because then she'll lay on me. So it like ended up working out amazingly. Thank God.
Big strong man over there.
Big strong man over there.
That's great.
Yeah, dude. So we're rocking and rolling, and we're doing it.
That's good. All right, Julie, I got one last update.
Oh, sick. The crusties.
On the crusties. Guys, I think this is it. Knock on wood. I think that we are going to close the door.
Knocking on wood.
Figuratively and literally on the squat squad. They were kicked out officially by the police, and there's an article now that just came out on the highly reputable New York Post. Caption, squadron of squatters terrorized New York City neighborhood after taking control of $4 million brownstone. Almost 24 disheveled squatters tormented and terrorized the residents and businesses surrounding a vacant $4 million Brooklyn brownstone they commandeered. The young miscreants stole packages off neighbors' porches, threatened people passing by, damaged private property, got high on the stoop, and set off fireworks in the early morning hours, according to the Post.
How stupid.
So it was a 3-story building. They got into multiple altercations, talking about how they knocked over a motorcycle outside of Jane Motorcycles,
Which you were there for?
which I was there for. And here's a photo.
Oh, damn.
Okay, but this is a fun wrinkle because I think I mentioned to you that they had a fabricated lease,
Yes.
so they could prove that they were tenants, and then that's the loophole that they
But
were
there was
trying
one
to play.
person who did, right?
Yeah, there was one person with it, and
But it was
so
fake.
It was a fake. It was
Wow.
a fake lease, and one sec, I gotta read this part.
Wow.
One sec. The squatters tried convincing police they were there lawfully. Jimenez, who had lived in the neighborhood for 58 years, said the squatters presented cops with a lease agreement they said was signed by the building's previous owner, Francine Rosado. It was dated July 25th of this year. Problem is, Francine died in 2020.
Ooh.
Someone says, I guess she rose from the dead to sign that lease.
I wonder who figured this out. The cops, probably?
The cops. This is from a cop.
Detective.
But
Fuck yeah.
there were upwards of 50 people in the building at a time. They found needles. They found 17 mason jars filled with piss.
Jesus.
There was no running water, and it was an absolute mess. They've been kicked out. The walls are boarded up, and he's making renovations, and then he's going to figure out what he's going to do with the property.
Thank God. Jesus. So how long did it take him to figure out what was happening?
I think maybe a week.
And then I remember he knew and he had hired the bodyguards and whatever. So that's Jesus, dude.
Yeah.
What a saga.
Yeah, and there were well over 30 reports sent into 311, so they really jumped on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
good.
did a really good job in the Berg taking care
Good job,
of
neighborhood.
cleaning this up. And then the woman with the cane that I told you about that was patrolling like an NPC in the Batman world, they had a nickname for her. They referred to her as Tripod.
Nice.
And now they're gone. They picked up all their stuff in one big van, and they're off to their next place.
God, and God bless wherever they end up. Good luck, neighborhood.
Good luck. Good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck. And goodbye.
And good luck and goodbye and good riddance.
Oh, I was nervous. That could have been like a 6-month,
Yeah.
a year-long thing.
Dude, I'm glad that you no longer have to be scared walking home. You're like a kid in one of those gang movies walking by the bad kids on the way home. Hey, Ryan, why don't you come over here and be cool?
I'm like, no. Call my friend who's bigger than me
You're too good
to
for
walk
us?
me home. So that's good. I'm glad things are getting clean.
Yeah. Happy to see it.
Thanks, Julia.
Cleaner streets and more quiet environment for Lynch
Yeah.
where you can feel safe and at ease.
Safe in Brooklyn. We have an email?
Finally, we got an email here. And this is called Wedding Cost. Fellas, enjoy your podcast. I am 57. One of my 3 daughters recently got engaged. Some of my friends' kids have already gotten married, and some are even grandparents. Back when I got married in 1991, the standard was that the groom's family would pay for the rehearsal dinner, and the bride's family was expected to pay for everything else. It seems today that both families seem to pitch in more. If you don't mind, I would like to know your opinions on cost of a wedding. Not necessarily your own arrangements, but what seems to be happening with your peers in terms of who pays for what typically in 2024. Thanks. Also, how's Plant Boy? Plant Boy's doing quite well. He's assimilating nicely into his new environment. This is a good question. Sometimes you'll get little sprinkles that indicate that to be the case, where it's like the groom's family very clearly paid for Friday because they talk. And then on Saturday, the bride's parents make sure to thank the groom's parents for the night before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I will also say this, and this isn't necessarily bride or groom related. A lot of the times I'll be at a wedding and it'll be pretty obvious which family is paying.
How?
I don't know. It's just like knowing what I know about the couples and the parents and what I'm seeing happening. I'm kind of like, if I had to bet, this family is probably doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Um,
If I went to a wedding where I did not know the majority of the people, that's where I would have no idea. But I feel
Right.
like the people that we've been going to weddings for, we get a lot of the behind the scenes in the weeks and months leading up to it, whether, you know, you get a phone call from someone venting about something or any other little peek behind the curtain. You have a general idea. You know the families.
Right.
And if there was any tension or beef, you would know about that.
Yeah, and even like, so yeah, it's interesting. And then also there's sometimes though where I wonder about that, and I don't even necessarily know if there's tension or beef in regard to who's paying and who isn't paying or whatever. But I do wonder about the dynamics in those kind of situations sometimes. And I think it must be a case by case basis. I don't really know. So I don't know if we answered the question, but I guess the ultimate answer is I don't know. But maybe the answer is that it's become more common for many different scenarios to unfold, as opposed to what's sounding like back in the day. It was very obvious that the groom's parents were going to pay for the rehearsal and the brides were going to pay for the wedding. It seems now there's more wiggle room in either direction, potentially.
Conversations are now being had about that amongst the families.
Yes.
Whereas in the past, not so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I will say this, dude, and this is, I'm sorry if there's anybody specifically that this is triggering, but there are times where I'll go to the rehearsal dinner and then I'll go to the wedding, and how much nicer one of those things is than the other. I feel uncomfortable for the people who put on the lesser event. Even though no one's thinking about it, I'm sure they don't even care, whatever. And like, I get that sometimes you just like end up in a price area where you're like, let people judge us. I don't fucking give a shit, because the other alternative is to spend money that you don't have or something. But yeah, sometimes I have thought that.
It's a fair thought, especially on a long car ride or flight back home.
Yeah.
How many weddings do you think you've been to? Because I have a much
know the answer to
smaller
this.
sample size, and maybe it's because I'm like wedding blind, but everyone that I've been to has been fabulous, and like I feel like there's a lot of parity between the night before and the wedding day. And I'm curious if there will be a day where I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, no, it's happened, but I won't. It's not commonplace, and which also makes me think that one party was likely more responsible for things because it's so consistent. But I've been to 35 weddings.
Wow.
Total.
Wow. So expensive.
I know, and also I'm much older than you, and with the amount that you've been to, by the time you're my age, you'll have been way more than me probably.
Yeah, I'm just entering that stage of my life.
Well, anyway, wed well, everyone, and you know us, Gallerati and Lynch. Follow me at Not Julio on Instagram, Not Julio G on TikTok and Snapchat. Also on Twitter, Not Julio, and Not Julio on YouTube. Please subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to our channel, Oops the Podcast, as well. Come see me in Seattle, the 26th of October. Hereafter at the Crocodile, 2 shows. Looking forward to those. Lynch, what you got coming up, pal?
I got shows in New York on October 25th, November 2nd, and November 8th. Check out my Instagram at Ryan is Really Polite for updates on those. And yeah, check me out as well on TikTok. Email us at oopsthepodcast@gmail.com. Your grievances, your questions, your stories. Is there anything that we should have them comment in the YouTube section below?
Comment your favorite type of potato chip.
Your favorite type of potato chip. Sweet dreams. Take care.